Thus far, not too much of an uptick when it comes to presence of DPS or Texas National Guard here at the Del Rio port of entry. But as far as why this is all happening, Abbott says that migrants are overrunning small towns and counties throughout Texas. So today I spent my day down the road in Kinney County, where the sheriff there says with all the migrants and volume coming in, it's dangerous and frankly unsustainable.
I have never in my 37-year career here in Kinney County seen it this bad.
Kinney County has less than 3,700 people. So far this year, they've seen 1,600 total migrants walk over the border unobstructed.
If nothing else, they're going to at least double, if not triple, what we did last year.
Just this morning, these two young children walking across the border seemingly unaccompanied. These pictures show migrants just walking into the county unopposed. With just 6 full-time deputies, the sheriff says they don't have the resources to stop them.
The full-time deputies spend 90% of their time dealing with illegal aliens because they're trespassing on private property, they're cutting fences.
Almost daily, they have car chases like this one, where 12 migrants and a smuggler are attempting to evade the police, stop, and then try and run. When that happens, the sheriffs call the school district and tell them to hold in place, stopping kids from going class to class so they don't get hit by the speeding cars.
Once or twice a year, now we're having them once to twice a month.
All the town's schools are on Ann Street, a hub for migrant chases. The district has now put boulders outside their schools to stop potential out-of-control vehicles from impaling their buildings.
And that was just as a safety precaution to be able to slow down any type of accident that may occur due to a high-speed chase.
Diaz says it's alarming seeing migrants walk by the school or speed by in cars. Coe says with the drain on the county's resources, they won't survive.
I couldn't give you a date, but I can just say it's not much longer.
Governor Abbott made a clear distinction that he's bringing these undocumented migrants to the border instead of sending them to Mexico. That's because deportation is a federal, not a state power. Still, one immigration lawyer tells me that Abbott may still be in violation of federal law here.
We cannot sustain this type of invasion.
Just days after border county officials called on Texas to declare an invasion at the border, Governor Greg Abbott stopped short of this. Declaring an invasion would grant state law enforcement the federal power to deport undocumented immigrants. On Thursday, the governor issued an executive order authorizing the Texas National Guard and Department of Public Safety to bring these migrants back to ports of entry on the border. Immigration lawyer Eric Cedillo says this action still might not be legal.
But if they're breaking federal law, the state government doesn't necessarily have the ability to kind of make arrests on that basis.
At issue is the fact immigration enforcement is solely a power the federal government, not the state government, has. Abbott justified arrests under Operation Lone Star by classifying them as trespassing crimes, but Cedillo says that reasoning may not work here.
Operation Lone Star might be, at least there's a semblance of the violation of state law. In this context, there's only an assertion of violation of federal law. And because of that, there's a huge distinction. And I believe he's preempted from doing that.
This executive order comes a day after a new UT Texas Politics Project poll shows the race for governor between Abbott and Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke tightening. Joshua Blank, who helped conduct this poll, says this action helps Abbott appeal to his base, despite the fact it does not actually deport migrants like some believe.
Ultimately, Texas has faced a number of issues over the last few weeks having to do with guns, having to do with immigration, and having to do with abortion. Across those 3 issues, Greg Abbott performs best when focused on immigration.
Months ago, Abbott sent busloads of migrants to Washington, D.C., which is a day-long drive from the border. We asked his team if he had a plan to bring those migrants back to the border under his executive order and how he would do that. We did not get a response. We did hear from the coalition calling for an invasion declaration earlier this week. They say Abbott's order does not go far enough. Blank points to language in Abbott's order that could suggest this move is not off the table.
What I think this executive order does is walks right up to that line without necessarily doing any of those things, but certainly is a clear wave at those ideas.
It's the controversial executive order creating shockwaves across Texas. The Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety are now allowed to apprehend those crossing into the U.S. illegally and return them to the border. The governor directly pointing the finger to the Biden administration's failure to protect Texas from a quote-unquote invasion as the tipping point for his unprecedented directive. Congressman Chip Roy says in a tweet, quote, "One metric matters, stopping the flow. That requires 1, Mexico to stop it, and or 2, turn away removal." Adriana Quiroga with the nonprofit Raíces calls this a political stunt. She's also concerned migrants will now take more risks to cross the border.
If you're deploying the Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety down to the border to return migrants to the ports of entry, it's an overreach of power.
State Senator Roland Gutierrez's district extends to border towns such as Del Rio. He also weighs in on the executive order.
It is clear for me today that he wants to change the narrative to talk about immigration, to talk about something that the state of Texas has no jurisdiction to do. Before he was against catch and release, and I guess that's what he's doing now.
Last September, when a surge of migrants were in Del Rio, the governor told us they were focusing on a different plan.
We are arresting and jailing anybody who comes across the border illegally and trespasses on private property or on public land. And so it's not the Biden administration catch and release policy.